the intermediate plateau is only a problem if you don't read. Because if you read, you're gonna notice how fast you improve. The number one thing I think people complain about is just the endless amount of words. German would never. Yeah, we would never. But this is obviously a ridiculous statement. You can't have people wear forgetting a word as this like badge of honor, as if that showed any. Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna once again have a look at Reddit, but this time we're gonna look at a subreddit called languagelearningj, where people make fun of other language learners for just being clueless or having really stupid takes and things like that. Now, some things are pretty harmless and just make fun of languages and are genuinely funny. Others I don't necessarily approve of, but we're gonna see what we find today and hopefully we have a good laugh together. Okay, so I sorted by the top posts this year and let's have a look. Incredible fact about Japan. Okay, so this is, I guess, taken from some Twitter post where one person says, I know people are making jokes, but this is a serious situation. In Japanese culture, prime ministers, even former ones, are considered important figures, and assassinating them is a serious cultural taboo. To which someone else replies, murder is actually really frowned upon in Japan. It goes against the traditional concept of ikiru, which means to live. This is kind of a weird thing to say. Like, yeah, obviously killing people isn't necessarily what you do, right? I mean, I would hope. I like this response. This is funny. You know, if you didn't know what this means, it would look so like, I don't know, it might be some spiritual thing that they do in Japan, but no, it literally just means living. And obviously murdering is gonna stop the living, so yeah, it kind of goes against that concept, I guess. Oh, these. Yeah, there are so many of these, right? Where it's like papillon, butterfly. And then there's the German and it just goes Schmetterling. I like that they flipped this around. Linguistic differences. These all just mean four, right? Because they all use Chinese characters and then this one's like four. German would never. Yeah, we would never. We would never use four. Russian proficiency test taken from the sub. Russian level test. Complain. I guess, you know, it is really funny because I think this is pretty similar to how German works. Not with a Cyrillic. I don't know what people in like the A levels complain about, but I know they definitely complain about plurals and declensions, which is fair because if you don't know what they are, then they might be pretty confusing. I think this is a pretty universal thing. I don't think this is a Russian only thing. The B levels, people in like that are not at the beginning of their learning anymore, but have not yet reached a high level of proficiency. The number one thing I think people complain about is just the endless amount of words. And I get that because to get from an A to B1 level to a C1 level, the biggest difference, I think, is just the amount of words that you need to know. And bridging that gap, there is so many words between that. And it just feels like there's more words every time. Every time you read anything or watch anything, the amount of new words just don't stop. So I think this is pretty universal. I think this is also where the intermediate plateau comes from, where people think they are plateauing because they're not learning anything new anymore. But I also have a video planned on the intermediate plateau, which I think is a really interesting phenomenon. And I do have my thoughts on it, but I think that the intermediate plateau is only a problem if you don't read. Because if you read, you're gonna notice how fast you improve. That is my take on it. So for anyone feeling stuck in the B levels, just read a book or two or five. Oh, some more kanji ones. I like the kanji ones. Those are funny. Pro tip, kanji are easy to learn because they look like the things they represent. Oh yeah, there's so many of these, right? Where, you know, they try to teach kanji to people that are very new to either any of the Chinese languages or Japanese or any language that uses Chinese characters. And there's like the tree, which, you know, it kind of looks like a tree, fair enough. A river, you can, yeah, sure, a river. And then there's there's kanji like these where it's like, oh, I mean, this just looks like back pain to me. If I saw this picture, I'm like, yeah, this has got to represent back pain, right? And I guess this is, I mean, you know, with good imagination, maybe this is a bear. This is not a lawyer. This is back pain for sure. Accent. Or language learning when someone speaks English with a foreign accent. Oh dear, gorgeous. Or language learning when an American has an accent in their target language. You fucking donkey. This is so true though, and I think it's kind of unfair because I feel like Americans, especially monolingual Americans, people that, you know, only speak English and try to learn another language, a second language for the first time in their lives, they get made fun of very unnecessarily. Yes, I agree, there are a lot of very ignorant people, but there's ignorant people everywhere in the world. And for some reason, we make a lot of fun of Americans when that is kind of not fair to them, because very often the people that do actually try to make an effort and try to learn the language, like genuinely, they just don't know better. And instead of making fun of them, which I agree is, you know, funny sometimes, but instead of making fun of them and like ridiculing them for their accent or their bad word choice or whatever, it would be so much more helpful to be understanding and point out that, you know, if they're actually willing to learn, point out what their mistakes are and how to improve them. That would just be more productive, I guess. But I do get that it can be funny, you know, making fun of other people. Please teach me all the verbs of Swedish. Hello guys, how are you doing? I have a question for you. Does someone pass me the list of the verbs in Swedish? I would like to learn Swedish when searching a partner. Someone answers, a list of all the verbs? That's a long one, just going by the SAOL. I don't know what that stands for, but... And given that languages are constantly evolving, so is the list. If you don't like my comment, you don't comment. I don't need your help. I only need help from kind people. Okay. See, this is one of those examples where I think either the original poster was joking or they just didn't know any better. Now, giving them the benefit of the doubt, I think they might just not have known better. But this is obviously a ridiculous statement. You can't have a list of all the verbs, especially because you know, as the second person said, they keep changing. Things change a lot. And that would be a very long list. I think in a case like this, what this person might mean, what they might refer to, is a list of the most common, most frequent 100 verbs or something. But having a list of all the verbs is a lot. It's a lot. See, this one I don't understand. People who learn languages look like all nice and smart, and then people who study language. What is this? I don't understand. What is the difference between learn and study? I'm Japan. Is it possible that I'll forget my English once I'm fluent, close to fluent in Japanese? Yes, after you reach fluency in Japanese, you will have a dream in where you will have, okay. Yes, after you reach fluency in Japanese, you will have a dream in which you will have to choose which language you want to remember. The one you did not choose will forever be forgotten. See, this is also like, I'm not sure whether this is a joke post or they're actually worried, because there are people that, you know, make these claims that, oh, I'm forgetting my native language because I'm so good at the second language, which I think is pretty dumb for the most part, because most people do not live in an environment or have the right conditions to be forgetting their native language. That doesn't usually happen after like a year of an exchange. Yeah, you might not remember. Okay, here's the thing, okay? If you learn a second language, then there is a chance that when you forget a word in your native language, it might come up because you now have another word that you can use to fill that mental gap. It might come up in your second language. It is not that suddenly you're forgetting your native language and your native language is being replaced by your second language. It is more so the fact that now you have something else to fill that gap if necessary. You know, monolingual speakers also forget their language. I think people like to forget that. Yeah, monolingual speakers also sometimes forget a word here and there. People wear forgetting a word as this like badge of honor, as if that showed in any way how good you are at the other language, which I think is pretty dumb. But that was not what this post is about anyways. Let's get back to this. So the answer is obviously no, you'll not forget your native language once you get fluent in a second language. There might be cases that I don't know about, but right now I just think let's just say for most people this is not going to be of any concern at all, ever, okay? Too smart for French. Time for Uzbek. People on this subreddit seem to have like a thing for Uzbek. I don't know what the joke there is because I don't hang out on this subreddit often enough to understand, but apparently Uzbek is like the funniest language to learn or something. I don't know. Don't ask me. Can having a very high IQ hinder language learning? I have a professional tested IQ of 135 to 138, which puts me in the 99th percentile intelligence-wise. In theory, that should make language learning easy, and in general, it is. I have an incredible capacity for finding patterns, learning vocab, imitating phonemes, etc. I'm quite the linguist. But actually, it is almost too easy. I've been doing various different courses on Duolingo for about 2 weeks. Latin, German, French, Japanese, and I'd say I've reached a decent level in each. But the fact is, it's just kind of boring. I'm losing motivation. Could it be that my high intelligence is hindering my learning? Do any other high IQ folks here have any tips on how I can make it a bit more interesting and stay motivated? Okay, there is 2 things to this. Generally speaking, I don't think having a high IQ is gonna hinder your learning. The problem with this post, I think, is not necessarily that this person is too smart to learn a language. I actually think that this phenomenon happens with a lot of people. That is, when they start to learn a new language, everything is really exciting, everything is really new. There's this inherent novelty that wears off after a while. For some people, it takes a while. And if you have a curious mindset, then it's probably going to take a while to wear off. But if you don't have that curious mindset, then that novelty is going to wear off within, well, as this person said, weeks, 2 weeks even. So then you kind of get bored, and then you kind of need more novelty. So you just, try something new, try another language. And that is what we, call dabbling. You just dabble from one language to the other, to the next, kind of always looking for that novelty, trying to see what all the other languages have to offer, which isn't a bad thing at all. But obviously you don't get good in a language within 2 weeks. Even if you're really smart, you'd have to be a very specific type of person to learn a language within 2 weeks. I don't even know if that's possible at all. If there's ever been anyone to learn a language in 2 weeks and actually get good at it. Yeah, you can learn phrases by heart, but I think that is not what this person means when they say they reach a decent level. And Duolingo is obviously not going to get you to a high or even to a decent level in any language, okay? Duolingo is not there for that. Okay, I believe that this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this version of our subreddit exploration videos, the language learning jerk version, just as much as the other versions. I'm not too much of a fan of the subreddit because there's a lot of dumb stuff and jokes get repeated a lot too, but every once in a while, just having a quick look is probably also a good idea. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video.